Thoughts never spoken, feelings never prices, truth never voiced. Welcome to the Unspoken Voices podcast with Chuck Ellis, where the rubber meets the road and the unspoken finds its voice. This is more than a podcast. This is a space for the thoughts you've been holding in, the conversation you've been avoiding, the feelings you've been struggling to explain. It's a platform for honesty, a safe place for courage, and voice for those who haven't found theirs yet. Here we don't run from real life. We face it. Whether you're calling in to share your story or listening because you're not ready to speak yet, this platform was built for you. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's really going on. This is the Unspoken Voices podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Unspoken Voices podcast with yours truly, Mr. Chuck Ellis. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I appreciate everybody for being here. I want to make sure that I did a sound test and everything, so I want to make sure that everybody is hearing and seeing me appropriately. If you're in the chat, right off the breakaway, if you're in the chat, put a thumbs up. If you hear me, if I'm clear, make sure there's no static. I did create a few issues on the way across, so I have I got an earpiece in and things of that nature to be able to make sure that the communication goes well. Again, thank y'all for joining in. I say joining in. Get me together. I'm starting off tripping. Thank y'all for joining in the Unspoken Voices podcast today. We are definitely diving into another segment of our monthly segment that deals with African history. And tonight we're going across the Nile Valley, but being in the Nile Valley, we didn't stay there. So Africans, or however you want, I'm not going to get into dialect or whatever you want to call them, Africans or ancient Americans, whatever you want. I know a lot of people say a lot of terminologies, but I'm trying to meet everybody for where we at, and that is part of the purpose of the show, to educate. So I'm gonna go across a few things that we deal with, but in keeping, before we get into the show, and in keeping with our ultimate and our viral lineup, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to who? The supporters, and what? The sponsors. Okay, so the first sponsor is, who y'all know it is? The Loft Barbershop, Romeoville, Illinois. My man Avery, Master Barber up there. As always, the door's open. Have a promising opportunity. Still looking for some barbers, some beauticians. We're gonna fill up all the seats. Just having the people in the seat is one thing. But we want to have people out there, that's out there doing a job. People in there doing a job. I mean, they getting it in. Full house up there all the time. So, thank them. Appreciate it. Now, for you, my other sponsors. That's all y'all get right now. Because y'all didn't join it. Y'all just start y'all sponsorship. Okay. Next up, as always, we open the show up. I'd like to thank the Lord for blessing us, man, for blessing me and my family. I want to thank him and ask him to hold on as everybody goes through trials and tribulations. As I learned today, tests, being tested, persevering through the test, being a witness that you were tested and coming out on the other side of it. I like to thank God for the test, because if it was not for the test, we would not know our own strength. We not know our own weaknesses. So I want to thank you for testing. And I pray that throughout these tests, throughout these life challenges, that we come out successful. We keep our faith and believe in you. For it's only you that's going to take us through. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I'm going to get into the show. We got a lot to discuss. I want to talk to some commenters. Got a lot to discuss. So without further ado, I want to bring on my historian, my favorite guy, Mr. Flommond Williams.
Favorite guy. Man, I'm
Yeah.
honored. I appreciate that, bro.
What's up, man?
Man, it's all good, bro. I always appreciate being on the platform.
Yeah. So like I said, man, we not going to we going to, but we're not going to. We're going we're going to address what they call the elephant in the room, some sort of,
Okay.
and we may even address a little bit of banter. You know,
Okay.
I call it banter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's one of the things that I think I want to talk about as far as what we've gotten back from this series as it pertains to information.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you can address something, I can address something, and then we're gonna get into the meat of this word. But okay, so I say first,
Go
all
ahead.
right. So if people ask me, well, Charles, do you believe in God? Yes, I believe in God. All right. We're here to educate. And this is a public service announcement. All right. I'm not here to try to sway nobody from your religious belief, how you choose to think, whatever the case may be. Right. All we here is to bring some education, some more in-depth knowledge to the people.
Absolutely. I would double down on that
Okay.
and say that not only do I believe in God, that through extensive study and research, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a God. So there is no belief with me. I know. So I don't want to dig into that too much because that's old bread. You know what I mean? But from wherever that came from, I know belief is the term, but I'm gonna go a step farther than that. I know it.
There we go. So that that's our little segment on some of the bands that you know what I mean. What else? What else did I say I wanted to talk about, man? Because you know what? This is another thing. This is what I wanted to put out there too.
Okay.
Please understand this, people. We're here to try to educate, uplift, empower.
Mm-hmm.
We're not here to beat nobody down. This topic on African history and knowledge and everything that I'm learning as well. But I want y'all to understand something. You got some groups out there that want to put down other groups, build themselves up. I'm not here for all that.
Right.
I'm not debating none of that. This ain't no debate show. This is educational. And another thing is I don't hide behind a keyboard and a screen.
Right.
Go now, y'all can take that for what it's worth, and please understand that this is how we get out. We come straight, and what we got is what we got. If you don't like what we have, then you can tune out or you can tune in.
Of course.
If you have a disagreement of what the information is being disseminated, guess what? You have the opportunity to say, hey, present your evidence or even discuss it with us in a fashion that's conducive to positive energy. That's what we doing.
Amen.
Boom. That's it. And that's all. My man. All right, bro. What what you got for me this week, man? I don't want to say what I got for you. What you got for me? Because I'm talk to me.
Well, I know we talking about the African diaspora, just how it pertains to us as African people throughout the world. Diaspora meaning African people, no matter where you are on the planet, not just in Africa, not just where we migrated to, meaning the Americas and the islands, the Caribbean islands, and other places like that, but all throughout the world. We actually exist in practically every country and continent on the planet. So just wanted to give some education on that. And like you said, as it pertains to giving information, I am a student. I consider myself a teacher, and I also consider myself a student. So I'm always open to new information. But just like a detective, when one's doing research, I'm only looking for facts. I don't look for theories. When a detective is on the case, when people try to come on the scene and give narratives, I'm not interested in narratives. All I'm interested in is the facts and the truth. So if you give me facts, I'm cool. If you give me new facts, new information, I'm open to look at it and I'm open to learn it. But that's about it. Narratives I don't go with.
So now we at the fact is, okay, we from the Nile Valley to the world. What time period is this? What time period are we talking about?
Well, if we're talking about just existence, in Homo sapiens started walking the planet like 60,000 years ago. So we going back a long way. But I will speed up to the point of the Nile Valley exists already, and now we're starting to people the rest of the world. So that would probably come into 40 to 30,000 years ago. And up to 10,000 years ago, I mentioned to you before, that was when some of the African people that left Africa, they got caught in what was known in the ice as the Ice Age, and they got caught up in some ice, and that was approximately 10,000 years ago. So when these melanated people came back, I mean non-melanated people came back, they lost their melanin. That was around 10,000 years ago. So as the Nile Valley is, as we talk about that, people started to walk out of Northeast Africa into Asia about 10 to 15,000 years ago. And that's when we started to spread out throughout the world. So we can roughly say 17,000 years ago.
Okay, all right. So now we be moving ahead. And one thing I want to backtrack on is because, I did get this question, and we kind of briefly spoke on it. We use the word Africa.
Right.
Okay. Some historians, some Africans, however you want to put it. We say, well, why are you using the word Africa, right? Mm-hmm. Because Africa was known by different names, and we should start using the name that was known by at the present time.
Right.
Let's dive into that. Let's answer that question real quick so that we can move on past that. But we want to definitely give a brief understanding of why the context, this word, the name is still presently used, or why we're currently using it.
I'll make it really simple because there is truth to that. But in my belief, it's just easier to use the term that everybody is, I don't want to say comfortable, but everybody knows it as. Most people on this planet knows the biggest continent on Earth as the continent of Africa. Sure, it has some other names before that, but what do we know the Lord and Savior of the world as? Jesus Christ. But there's other names for him too. You see what I'm saying? But we know another name. So we're going to use the name that we know, because there's no sense of trying to confuse people. Now, if you want to dig into it later, then do that. But let's just use the word that we all know, that most of us know.
All right, cool. So now we're going to use what most of us know. Do we even want to give a name that give a name to flash on people, say, hey, it was known as this, or what do we, just so for education?
I don't, because there's several names.
Okay.
So that's another study in itself.
Okay. Hey, I'm cool. I'm just making sure, because I want to make sure, we get comments, and I want to brush on the comments. I'm not going to I'm not going, what is it? Not associate. I'm not going to, not address it, because you can't address everything, but I at least want to hit some points to make sure while we're going through the context of this history that, we tap on certain things. Yeah. So where are we at right now? Let's talk. Where are we at and how are we moving right now?
Well, when the Africans first started walking out of the northeast corner of Africa, past the Suez Canal, they started going into Asia and populating that space. And when we think about African people, we got to understand that we were the first people on the planet. And we started to move around the country and explore and started to populate the lands. And as we went into Asia, and that would be what we know of as well as India and Japan and China. We started to people that part of the world, and it's one of those things where what I think that we all should understand is Africa is a big place, and we just gotta understand and take some pride in the understanding that we were the first people on Earth, and every other ethnic group derived from African people, and we should take pride in that. And I think that
Okay.
when we start to understand who we are as a people and where we really come from, it will help us to respect ourselves more. And at the same time, it would allow us to be disrespected less because it gives us a sense of pride.
Right. Understood. I'm just, don't get me wrong, man. I'm you know what I mean, I'm trying to what am I doing? I'm multitasking.
Okay.
I'm multitasking because I'm paying attention to what you're going through. But I as a host right now, man, I'm really making sure that we deliver on a lot of what's happening, because I'm gonna tell you, we're getting a lot of traction. That means that people are listening.
That's
And when you
good.
got people listening, that means that education is going. Now we sparking a conversation, and
Okay.
I'm okay with sparking a conversation. So, if for individuals who are listening, I got a comment section down here. We are currently live.
Right.
If you're on the live, we're more than welcome to tap in, and I'll read some of the comments. We can answer some of the comments, but we're definitely gonna keep pushing ahead with the information. We're not gonna
Okay.
stop the track, but we want to make sure that hey, it's just like anything else. When you're speaking about a conversation and somebody got something to say, hey, we're entertaining, see what's going on, and we don't make nothing minimal. So I want to clarify a few things. Is there a difference between saying African people migrating somewhere and saying African culture influenced somewhere?
I would say it's one and the same. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Migrating just simply means to go to another place. And at the same time, everywhere that we go, we do influence culture because that's
That
just who
is
we are
true.
as a people. So our influence is pretty much everywhere that we go. And just so we can start to build up a little traction, I'll start talking about some of the cultures anyway. We talked about the Nile Valley, and the Nile Valley specifically in Egypt, which was known as Kemet, is probably, I think sometimes we talk about Egypt and Kemet too much. And that's only because Kemet, being Egypt, is the most spectacular place, primarily because of the pyramids. But there was other places in the Nile Valley that was just as important. Like we talked about the Sudan and Ethiopia, all of those places were just as important. And we need to start making sure as a people that we talk about Mali and Morocco, the Sudan and Ghana, Mozambique, and the Cameroon and all the others just as much, because that's where we all are from. I'll talk a little bit about the people of Mali. The people of Mali were known as the Dogons, and the Dogons were a very impressive group of African people because they had the ability and the knowledge to be able to study the stars and charter the stars, and they had a knowledge of doing that hasn't been duplicated yet. There's still Western civilizations that have all this technology, but still can't study the stars the way that the Dogons in Mali do. And these were some of the first Africans in Africa. At some point, were considered to be primitive people, but they still had this knowledge of studying the stars. And we talked about it last month, and just all the information that we learned from astronomy, just being able to uh, uh, start a calendar, divide the day into hours, and to be able to divide a year into days and months. all of that is based off of astronomy, which the Dogons were are even still to this day are experts at.
Okay. So, I'm looking at my notes. I'm saying that I know there are famous claims about Dogon knowledge of what's called Sirius.
Yeah.
Okay, is claims about what exactly is documented, or what are some of the documents, and what maybe remains disputed about the Dogons.
I haven't really heard too many disputes about that,
Uh-huh.
but the information is like not archaeology, but it's been proven for hundreds of years that that the knowledge that they have of Sirius and just being able to understand the solar system was brought from that
Okay.
to the world.
Yeah, 'cause because while we're here and we talking, I'm learning as we moving. You
Right.
know, so just like the commenters gonna ask questions, I got notepad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about it. In a forum like this, and I want to make sure I'm paying attention to the screen and everything like that. But at the same token, man, I do some research, but I still had to take notes too. So if people are listening and they're paying attention to the podcast where we at, then I implore them to take notes.
That is the best way to research information, and that's why pretty much every time I'm on, I always encourage listeners to not just listen to what I'm saying. If it's certain things or that I speak about, write it down and go look it up, because that's important. You can't just listen to what people say. I mean, I try to be as factual as possible with everything that I speak, because from what I've learned through research is to never say anything that I can't validate with at least 3 or 4 sources. So I try to be factual. But with that being said, the listeners or viewers should still be able to go out and seek that information out. So I want people to look it up. And then if you got a question after that or something that we need to talk about, or let's talk, you know what I mean? Because that's what a great dialogue is. And I just think that that's something that we should do.
All right. So let's keep moving. Where we at now? Because I'm following you, sir.
All right, man. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I'll just continue. I'll just keep talking about Africans moving about. And as you feel the need, just stop me and we can talk about it.
All right.
But
Do we move into the Dark Ages? Did we address the phrase of it?
we can get to it.
Okay,
I'll speak
because
with a couple others before I do.
yeah, because it said, we often hear the phrase Dark Ages, but that description largely comes from European history.
Yes.
So as we talk about it, enlighten us on, what were the so-called Dark Ages, and what was happening in Africa during the same period, or if that's a part of the what you got down there. I don't want to throw you off, but I want to make sure that I put that in as far as the Dark Ages.
Okay. Well, the Dark Ages is definitely considered to be a European time, and that was from 500 A.D. to 1000 A.D. when the Europeans went through a state which was kind of stagnant. In modern day, we call it hustling backwards. It's like they kind of lost their sense of doing everything, and everything that they did was really kind of put them in a bad state of being, and they kind of lost everything that they had ever come to know. The term Dark Age has actually been changed. We still can call it Dark Age, but a lot of people now call it the Middle Ages. Just, I don't know, for whatever reason, to make it not sound like a bad period. But there were a group of Africans in Northwest Africa that were known as the Moors, who are credited with help bringing the Middle Age Europeans out of this stagnant state that they were in, because they were so bad. Man, these people didn't even know how to use running water. They weren't taking baths. They didn't wash clothes. They really had to be retaught how to do everything. And the Moors, which was an African group out of Northwest Africa, some of them were Islam, and some were African, and there were different different ethnicities of the Moors, but the most common group were African people. and they were credited from the year 700 BC to 1400 AD to being rulers, and they were credited with giving the Europeans giving them civility again, because they were just in a very bad place.
So, and now that you mention this, and I don't, I'm not gonna go left or right, but because I was just thinking about it, I have some associates, some friends that are Moorish Americans. So what I'm saying is they apply that, is that I know that's religious, but is this a part of the extension of the Moors?
What, can you repeat that? I kind of missed the first part that you said.
Okay, I got some friends, that are that follow Islam, but they
Okay.
say they're Moors, they're Moorish American, right?
Okay.
So are you saying that this is derived from the Moors of Africa? Is that what we're saying?
Absolutely.
Or okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
I mean, now, of course, there's different sects that come with that, SECTS. So I can't really speak to exactly what branch that they might be talking about, but the Moorish community does derive back from African culture and Spanish culture.
Okay. So that's what I was.
Let me clear up something. I gave a wrong date. The Moors ruled from 711 AD till they were conquered in 1492 AD.
All right. So okay. So everybody got this. So now, in mentioning that, this is what I'll say, because when I ain't offended nobody, nothing like that. But at the same token, I have some Moorish American friends that may be well versed in history.
Okay.
So if any of them are listening, and we speaking about the Moors of Africa, and you got some context that you would like to present or talk about as we go over, as we are in this monthly segment, then please contact us and we can talk about that as well. And we don't specifically get into religion, but we definitely want to get into the history of Moorish Africans and Moorish Americans. How does that sound? Does that sound politically correct?
Sound good to me.
All righty then. See that? Hey, I'm getting a good feel of this podcast thing, bro.
You got it.
I got a little shimmy shake now, and we rolling. Okay, so let's move, man. Let's see where we going now. I'm with you.
Okay. Well, we talked a little bit about as we were moving around. I kind of passed up some other stuff from Nile Valley, so I'll kind of back up just a little bit, and then we'll go back forward, because there were different periods in the Nile Valley before people start branching off and moving. You had the Pyramid Age, that was from 2700 BC to 2200 BC. Then you start having these dynasties from 2000 BC to 1700 BC. That was the 11th and 12th dynasty. And people that were in that dynasty were people that we probably come to know, or at least the next one, which was from 1560 BC to 1200 BC, which was King Akhenaten, Ramesses the Great, Queen Nefertiti, King Tutankhamun, which is King Tut. So those were those dynasties. And then there was another dynasty from 700 BC, the Nubian dynasty, which conquered those dynasties. And that's what it was before a lot of these Africans, before they lost the kingdoms. So that was going on, preceding all the other movements that I was talking about. So as Africans began to move out of Africa, we got presence in, like I said, in Japan. We got presence in Australia. You will find people in Australia today, like in Fiji, excuse me, in the Solomon Islands, that have, dark-skinned people that have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That are 7 feet tall, people that are, just what we would consider to be average looking people with blonde hair and blue eyes. And that looks a bit different than what we're kind of accustomed to seeing. And that just goes to show that African presence is all throughout the world. We just have to get to a point to understand what it really means to be African. And sometimes we tend to think that we have a stereotype of what African people look like, or at least speaking for me, I know I did as a child. If somebody said Africa to me, what do people look like? Unfortunately, my view of an African would be some big, strong man with a bone in his nose, screaming languages that I don't know, looking for a Christian missionary to eat for dinner. And unfortunately, that's what the media portrayed. But as I got older, especially studying, I just come to know now that no, that is not what African people are. You know what I mean? And just seeing kids on TV with flies in their faces and swollen bellies. That's what the media portrays. But actually, we know that Africa is one of the biggest continents on the planet. And there's a lot more to see in the continent than what the media portrays.
Yes, very much so. People are rich. They
Yeah.
got riches there. Beyond
Africa is the richest continent on the planet. It has all the natural resources today that make this earth go round. Unfortunately, Africans are not rich, but Africa as a country is rich. I mean, as a continent is rich. And that's why you see all of these different ethnicities coming into the continent now, trying to take over all the resources.
right.
Because it's rich.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely what I've been seeing. So now did and I want to stay back there for a minute. Was there anything in particular that caused the migration, or how people leaving out of the Nile River Valley? Was anything particular that caused this migration to come into play, or?
No, there was it's just exploration, just curiosity, wanting to know more, wanting to see more, wanting to do more. Now, later in time, as lands get conquered, of course, you move around more then. But
Okay.
no, in the beginning, no, it was simply just because people explore. And as you explore, you find ways to move around. And we were smart and still are smart. So, hey, this is how you build a boat. Let's make something that floats that can get us around, and put some food on the boat, and let's just start seeing what's around these areas that we live. And that was during the period of exploration.
Okay. Well, you know what, man? Digging back into to my African culture, my African history, because I'm gonna do one of them DNA joints, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna tell you what I wish would have happened to me. And you talking about boats, man? I wish I'd have learned how to swim, bro.
It's not too late.
No, hey, listen, man. Me and swimming, man, it just don't work. But that's a little impromptu. I was just thinking about when you said we're making boats and stuff. I'm like, man, that's a culture. But that's I mean, swimming is not. I don't know. It must have missed my family or something. It must have missed me.
I could swim good enough to save my life, and I hope I don't never have to put it to the test.
Man, look here, man. That's the strangest thing for me, because I was in the Marine Corps. I passed the whole Marine Corps test and everything, learned how to swim, and almost drowned the same token while on active duty at the war. But that's a whole nother story, man. I don't want to throw us too far off. What we got next? We talked about Nile River Valley.
Mm-hmm.
We got into the doggone, right? Is that right? Doggone?
Dogons.
Dogons. Well, I'm from Baltimore, man. So it's like I say words as I see them. Doggone, dogons. Okay. So we went through dark. We explained a little bit about dark ages. So I mean, it's a lot of information to get in our time period that we up here, and that's why we do it once a month. But at the same token, I'm touching on these topics as a note thing for individuals listening.
Right.
Because I want to let them know we address this, we address that as we're moving forward. Because what I want to do is, and what I've seen in our episodes, is that sometimes we get locked into an area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we come on and we really advertise or a format or a list of things, and we don't always get to address it, right?
Right.
So I'm just trying to I'm gonna push this a little bit. I want to make sure I stay on track, because now this is more than just a podcast for me. It's more than serious. It's a learning tool.
Mhm.
So on and off screen, I'm learning, and when I go off, I want to follow up with what I did, so that way, you know, I can regurgitate some of this information to individuals who maybe have questions, because I want to know what I'm talking about. Because if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to refer it to you.
Okay. And if I don't, and if I can't give the answer, I'm going to refer them somewhere else, because I want people to be clear on things. But like I said, I'm going to try to give everything that I know as fact. You know what? Since you were talking about moving along, I'll talk a bit about our African presence in India. We
Okay.
have a great presence in India. It's there's a group of people in India that are known as the Dalits, and the Dalits are also known as the Untouchables. And when I speak of the Dalits, known as the untouchable people, I am confident when I say it that they are the most oppressed people on the planet. They have been taught since birth that their very voice and that their very touch will cause spiritual pollution to anybody that they're around. So they are segregated even more so than we have been. And I know that probably sounds weird, but yes, the Dalits in India have been oppressed and put in a state of castability that I can speak about a little bit too. That's even worse than what we have come to know. Um, they live in a
Wow.
what's known as a hierarchy, and many of the people that I speak about in India, they're black. They're dark-skinned Indian people.
Okay.
If you look at a lot of people from India, that's probably the closest that you can look at as far as complexion that matches up to us with brown and dark skin.
Yeah,
Indian.
I understand that.
But like I said, the Dalits, yeah, they are like the bottom of what you would call society in India. And the African
Mm.
presence in India is strong. There's like 200, I don't want to get that number wrong, but I want to say it's close to 200 million African people in India. There's twice as more African people in India than there are in Nigeria. 4 times as more African people in India than are in Brazil. That's how strong our presence is in India. And
Really?
yeah, have you ever seen the it was a documentary that Chris Rock did about maybe 15 years ago. It was called Good Hair. It,
No, I
it
didn't.
was a
I'm not.
documentary about the African American woman and just how they are, how they love their hair and how they love getting their hair done, and just went through a documentary about hair. But there was one specific scene where he's in India, and you see a scene of Indian women cutting their hair off, and they sell it,
Yeah.
and that a lot of that hair winds up here in the United States. And you see, you go to the beauty store, and you see all this human hair in stores. A
Yeah.
lot of that comes from India, and it comes from that group that I just spoke about, the Dalits. The
You know what? I
Untouchables.
seen that. Now that you mention that, I seen that.
Yeah,
I seen that. Okay, go ahead. I'm with you. Go ahead. I'm with you.
yeah,
Go ahead.
but that's where a lot of that comes from, and it's just kind of speaking to the castability that I was talking about in India. And yeah, they the way that they segregate over there, man, they pretty much keep all of the Dalits, the Untouchables, in a dark place. They're pretty much seen and not heard type of people. So
Wow.
unfortunate.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. And maybe we'll dig into that later on as we get different topics. We might go back and address that, even the cultural bias in it. Um, Something that we can look at and
There's
in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'm with you. You ain't lost me yet. See that?
We good?
Yeah. So that's a good question, man. That's a
Well,
good question. So now we talk about it. Now we talk about that culture and our culture, and how it intertwines, and how the dialects are being oppressed to
for
to to
thousands of years,
that
for
for
thousands of years.
thousands of years, to that extent, man. And we look at our own oppression, and sometimes, hey, even in our own oppression, some people are even getting treated worse.
Right.
So that has to give us a profound um, influence to be able to step outside of our box and do a little bit more to reach out to other people to help lift them up as well. Because if we know this, see, if you know this, you should do something about it. But sometimes you gotta do something about your own condition before you can help another person's condition, right?
That was exactly where I was gonna lead to as you were speaking, bro. And you're right. I don't say that to diminish anything that's going on in India, because you're right. There's still African people like us. But it's just
Yeah,
like when you're on the plane, bro, and it's a distress situation, and them oxygen masks come down. What do the flight attendants say? Put your own mask on first before
right.
you help somebody else out, because you can't help nobody else out unless you're able to help yourself. So that's why I would strongly encourage for us to advocate for other people,
Right.
especially African people. But we have to be able to come together as African American people and understand our history and understand us as a people before we can help anybody else, because we too busy. We're divided enough just over here in the United States. So
Yeah.
that's why I think history is important, because it's we're not going to be taught this in school, and we want our kids to be educated, but we can't educate our kids with what we're not educated with. So
Mm-hmm.
we can't expect ourselves to know everything, but I do think it's important for us to begin to learn more than what we've been learning. Us as a people, we spend too much time talking about who's the best basketball player, LeBron or Michael Jordan. Who's the
Right.
best rapper, Biggie or Tupac? We got to start talking about things that have more meat and substance. And and I would say that our culture is at the forefront, or should be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, I got you. So now, speaking about culture, and you mentioned, abroad. What we talk about, like Africans in Australia? Because a lot of Australians are the ones with the blonde hair, right?
Right.
Okay, talk to me.
Well, Australia is a different type of place. Well, I shouldn't say different, but there is a lot of racism that exists in
Mm-hmm.
Australia, and a lot of African people that have already been there. They're pretty much, I don't want to say grandfathered in, but they're understood in Australia, and a lot of them don't believe that's an African presence that's even there. They just think that some of the blacks that have blonde hair and blue eyes are an anomaly, as if the presence didn't come from the African continent, which I find comical. But yeah, Australia is considered to be a very racist place as it pertains to people of color.
So when somebody says Aboriginal Australians came from Africa, should the first question be when, or how should that come about? If I say, you got a Aboriginal Australian, they came from Africa, but like you say, people want to deny the fact. Do we have a president say, well, when, or how does that play into the part of what we're teaching right now?
Well, that's a good question, and that's one that I probably need to do some more research on myself. Uh,
Ooh,
I'm not sure if I can give a great answer on that one, bro. I just think
and
that. Go ahead.
and you know what? I'm glad you said that, my man. I'm glad you said that because of this, and this to the viewers. There are some things that we talk about that we don't know all the answers to. We can give you what we got,
Of course.
But don't worry about it. I tell you what, I marked it down on the paper. Boom. Guess what we're gonna do?
I bet you I'll know soon.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go get that information and bring
Right.
it back. Yes, sir.
Right. Right.
So if people out there listen, do me a favor, please understand this and hold me accountable. Hold Flommond accountable.
Sure.
We're gonna address African presence in Australia and give you some history as how that applies to the Nile River Valley migration. Is that right? That's right.
Absolutely.
All right, so now where we moving at? We moving more towards like Northwest Africa and Europe.
Yes. That was the next area that Africans started to populate. There
Okay.
now, looking at time, I think there's probably this part of migration that needs to be talked about before we run out of time. And that would be the African presence in the Americas.
Let's get it.
Yeah, let's talk about that as it
Let's
pertains
get it.
to African people in the Americas. And that means North America, Central America, and South America. And you can even throw the islands in there, which would be Haiti, the Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, and just all of those places where African people exist. There is a book that came out in the 1980s, I believe, by a man named Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. He wrote a book that was called They Came Before Columbus. And in this book, he talks about the African presence in the Americas. There was a group of African people that were known as the Olmec, Olmec, and they existed in Central America and the bottom part of North America. And what we have come to know about the Olmecs is that they lived in the Americas with the Native Americans. Now, the Native Americans may have existed here first, but the Olmecs contributed greatly to the civilization in Mexico and North America and even South America. So much so that there is physical evidence of the Olmec civilization. Now, when people talk about were we here before Columbus, the answer is absolutely we were. And the Olmecs proved that. In the 1800s, there was a huge stone head that was found underground in Mexico. And when the head was found, I'm talking about a stone head that was probably 10 feet tall. And when they dug it up, you can see the resemblance of it. It looks very much so like an African person. That was the first head that was found in 1862. By the time the 1930s rolled around, there was an archaeological discoverer named Matthew Sterling. He found more heads in Mexico. And altogether, there have been 17 heads that have been found. So for your listeners, if you want to write this down, just look up Olmec civilization, Olmec, and you will find 17, if you look at images, 17 of these stone heads that are between 4 feet tall and 11 feet tall. One of them, Matthew Sterling said he looks amazingly Negroid. Another one he called Joe Louis, just by the way that he looked.
Bill, right.
It gives proof that there was an African presence in the Americas long, I'm talking thousands of years before Christopher Columbus sailed over here in 1492. And I think that's important for African Americans to know, is that we've been taught to believe that we didn't touch down in the United States, well, in America, until we were brought over here on the transatlantic slave trade. And that is totally false. We were already here, and we already existed with the Native American population. Now, with that, there is, well, let me back up. What the Olmecs brought to the civilization is also important because they brought agriculture, they brought science, they brought astronomy. Remember what I was talking about the Dogons? They
Yeah.
brought all of that here with them from the Africans. So, from Africa, not the Americas, from Africa. So they brought all of that resource with them, and they worked together, hand in hand with the Native Americans, to build what they would be called living in harmony, and that would be with the Aztecs, with the Incas, and with the Mayans. What we got to understand about the Americas as it pertains to Africa is that there was a series of migrations. There wasn't just a transatlantic slave trade. There was multiple migrations from Africa to the Americas. It's pretty simple the way the process works. If we, like we talked about earlier, if you can build a good ship or a boat, and if you got enough food to survive the voyage, if you come off that West African coast, you're gonna wind up in the Americas whether you want to or not, just because of the way that the currents flow. So there's a small group of people today that don't believe that we migrated from Africa. They'll say we didn't migrate here, we were always here. And
Right.
I mean, I find that to be a little short in answer, because it all it says is that we were always here, and that's an infinitive answer. There's normally a beginning to everything. So what I try to get people to understand is, yeah, we've been here for a very long time. You know what I mean? Definitely longer than Columbus has been here. But I wouldn't say always been here. We migrated here, and we've been here for thousands and thousands of years. But to say that we always been here is like saying that this is the beginning of creation. And if you're gonna say that, then you got to be able to document that. And most people can't document that.
Man, hey man, look, you just dropped some jewels. I'm trying to tell you, and this is what we talking about. This is the element of where we need to be getting at when we talking about education. Because my thing is now, in the efforts of educating, what changes as we are giving information into our culture, our society, about our culture, society. What and I would say this for anybody to ask that in history, past comparative to present, and looking for the future, as information is provided and more knowledge about our history is given, what are we looking to accomplish? And
I would say, go ahead.
no, well, I and even on the podcast, some people ask, well, what are you looking to accomplish by African history segment? I'm personally not even, I'm learning. And out of the learning element of it, it's giving me more insight as to direction, as to capabilities, is to unlearn to learn. And with the new information, it also tells you what is possible.
Exactly.
So if anybody would have asked, that would be my take on our monthly segment and how we're digging into this information. And hopefully, if we get one person that it affected, that makes a difference by learning of this type of history, to say that what's possible based upon what we've been through and extra knowledge of understanding now where you come from. Good job.
I don't think I could say more than what you said, bro. I think that is exactly the answer. It is to give not just information, but to give knowledge to those who might not have ever heard the information to be able to get the knowledge. For me, I had to study for it, and I would say that I stumbled upon it because it's not necessarily what I was looking for. But as I began to get new information, it helped me to understand myself, understand our people, and to be proud of who I am. And not to say that I wasn't proud anyway, but when you can understand your history from a grassroots level and not start it with slavery, but be able to start it from before the beginnings of time, should I say, that is a great way to learn about yourself. There's plenty of African proverbs, but I'm reminded of something I learned from Dr. Runoko Rashidi, and he's somebody who did like 50 sojourns to Africa and has like 300,000 pictures of information and things that he's seen in Africa, meaning that seeing is believing and pictures are worth 1,000 words. But it's what you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. And what you think of yourself is what you know of yourself. And what you know of yourself depends on what you've been told about yourself. Now, what have we been told about ourselves? Either we don't have a history at all, or that history begins with slavery. And that information is just simply problematic. So if you start your history with that, then bring it to present day terms, then it's easy for us to run around calling each other the B word or the N word, because we don't think high enough of ourselves, because we don't know enough of ourselves.
Man, hold on. Let me stop you right there, because you blowing my mind. But I just had a thought, and before I take it away, I wanted to stop you right there because I feel like you in the element. So I'm gonna give this to you, man, because I'm gonna give you a second. And what you think of yourself, what you know, that series that you just pinpointed, I hope you can reiterate that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you was in a mode. But this is, I'm gonna throw this question out here. I'm gonna throw this comment out here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop down, because what you're saying is so important, and I want you to speak directly to the question. Okay.
Okay.
Here's how I'm working. If a young black child is watching tonight or watch later on, and most of what they learned about Africa in their life thus far has been slavery, poverty, and colonization,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want that child to understand about where they come from? Do I need to repeat that?
No, I hear you loud and clear.
Loud and clear. So that's the message I'm asking you to deliver, and I'm gonna pull myself down. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to really address it. And it's not just black young. We're geared towards young black people, but at the same token, all cultures and all young individuals need to understand where we're at as a people, so that that respect level goes across the board.
Right.
So I'm gonna pull myself down. I'm gonna get this to you, and I'm gonna ask respectfully, sir, that you handle this, and it's all yours from right now.
All right. Well, you said that so eloquently, I feel like I'll just repeat that, because that is a Dr. Runoko Rashidi saying. That is not my own words, but it's so powerful that I will repeat it again. What you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. What you think of yourself depends on what you know of yourself. And what you know of yourself depends on what you've been told of yourself. So what have we been told as people? As I mentioned earlier, we're told that either we don't have a history at all, or the history that we do have begins with slavery. And that information is problematic, because if you begin your history with slavery, the best you can ever become is a better slave. And that is not what we want the next generation to become. We want them to become better thinkers, better doers, better than anything that we've ever been ourselves. And the only way we can educate our children and students is to educate ourselves. And the only way we can educate ourselves is to read more, to study more. There is a professor at Syracuse University that I once read about in the 1980s. He was teaching an American history course, and he came upon that book. I think a student might have given it to him, the book that I was talking about earlier by Dr. Ivan Van Sertimer, that came before Columbus. He got a hold of this book, he read it, and once he read the book, within 2 months, he gave his letter of resignation to Syracuse University. He left the school because he found out that even he, as a professor, for 30 years of his life, or at least 20, 30 years that he had been a professor, he understood that he had been miseducated. And in being miseducated, he realized that he could not teach falsehoods to people that were going to school anymore. So he resigned from the school, and he lived the rest of his life studying history, specifically African history, from a different state. And yeah, he just began to change lives as he could from that format. So I'll end by saying this. I just think that we as African-American people, we need to do better and realize that we have been miseducated. And we need to unlearn some things that we've been taught so that we can reprogram our brains to see better in ourselves and better in other people that look like us, instead of being down on people that look like us. And there's many ways that we can do it. I think that we need to start supporting Black businesses more. I think that Black men need to love Black women more. I think Black men need to be with Black women. I think that we need to take images of deities off of our walls that don't look like us. And there are plenty of other things that we can do as a people. But I am very optimistic that we will rise as a people.
Well spoken, sir. I appreciate your honesty. We have a lot of work to do.
Starting with ourselves.
Starting with self. You know, no one is 100%. It is what it is. Me, myself, I have a lot of work to do. Even though, there's no even though, I have a lot of work to do. There's no excuse in it. And every day is a learning process. And we must accept that. Again, wonderful segment. I thank you very much for your candor, for your direct, for being blunt. I thank you for the research, the time you put into it, and taking your time to be able to co-host with me to get this information across. This segment is an important and intricate part of what should be happening across our community, be it in schools or where have you. So thank you. You've enriched my educational prowess. And I hope that you've done the same for those that are listening. And we will follow up. We're definitely going to get together as far as what we have coming up next. I asked for the listeners to stand by. Please stay posted, and you can give them your information. Hey, you got any questions? Again, matter of fact, you can tell them what they want. Go ahead, you do your thing.
Like I always say, bro, I am always open for discussion. And if there's anything that any of the listeners want to talk about that wasn't clear enough, you can reach me on my email. That is flommondwilliams@gmail.com, or you can reach me directly. My phone number is 630-392-6903. I am always open to talk, and I am not one that hides behind a keyboard or hides behind a screen. I am very serious and passionate about African people, and I will always continue to talk. And I'll end by saying this. This is a quote by Brother Malcolm X. Out of all of our studies, it is history that is most qualified to reward your research.
Enough said. Thank you very much, Lamont. Appreciate you, man. And we'll continue next month. The second Sunday of every month is what we do. 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Unspoken Voices podcast with Flommond Williams and African history and culture.
One love.
One love. Ladies and gentlemen, say less. We reached out. I think this was a great segment. We accomplished a lot. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, I think we can hold a panel. I'll even consider holding a panel for African American or African history. Mr. Williams has let y'all know that he's open to respond to requests and information. So with that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Unspoken Voices podcast with Chuck Ellis, where silence is broken, truth is spoken, and healing begins. Y'all have a great evening and tune in next week, same time, same station.
This has been the Unspoken Voices podcast with Chuck Ellis, where silence is broken, truth is spoken, and healing begins. So remember, your voice matters, your pain has purpose, and your story deserves to be heard. So until next time, stay connected, stay encouraged, and know that your voice is never alone.